I want to take a moment and really acknowledge all of you being here today and the effort that requires to come. We create this holding environment that supports and encourages us to practice. And we really do feel the lift, the support of others. We can feel held in Sangha. Let's just take a moment to appreciate that. I also want to invite us in that appreciation to extend our hearts, our prayers, whatever feels natural, to those who are in danger's way, to those who are experiencing aggression and are seeking refuge. We want to hold them in our effort and heart practice. Oh, these are precarious times, and feelings of uncertainty, alarm, anger, confusion, they arise. Still, each one of us has that capacity to face these struggles, to hold them in compassion, care, metta, and to reach beyond these walls to include others in our fields of love and kindness. And as Lori was talking about, we make a commitment to listen deeply. Last week, Lee and Maria spoke about patience. And Lee said, patience are one of the paramis or paramitas. And the paramitas are commonly known as the great perfections. The word paramita also means to go over to the other shore. Pema Chodron puts it this way: the paramitas are like a raft that carries us across the rivers of samsara, of birth, old age, sickness, and death. Paramitas train us in stepping beyond the limitations of dualistic views, and they can help us to unbind from the grips of I, me, and mine. These paramitas are qualities that we want to cultivate in our daily practice and in our daily living. And they are generosity, ethics, right action, right effort, right speech, patience, that gentle forbearance, concentration, wisdom. And then there's one that I'm going to speak about today: virya, or grit. Grit. Perfection of effort and enthusiastic perseverance. Some other words that people use to say the same thing are vigor, vitality, endurance, diligence, enthusiasm. Grit, like perseverance, is our willingness to follow through, to withstand a challenge. It is a tenacity, a willingness to turn toward difficult things, emotions, experiences, those beautiful monsters, shadows inside of us, with a resolve to hold them with kindness, with the kindness of metta. And as I thought about this talk, I really felt my awkwardness and a hesitancy. I thought, ooh, I don't know that I've given grit so much thought, or that I've really thought so much about effort. And as I was thinking about it, I thought, well, this is important for us to think about. This word grit even has this sort of Western connotation, right? Like that, yeah, striving, determination, true grit. Well, there, Missy, keep going, that kind of a feeling. And our culture certainly emphasizes that, rewards it. There's something so important about that quality of effort. The qualities of generosity and ethics and patience and metta need the energy of grit and effort to grow. I think there is a connection between grit and gratitude. We start to sense that, oh, there's something precious here. We don't want to squander it. Grit and effort aren't such calm and serene words, are they? But, I was talking to a Sangha member today, and she said she loved the word grit because it had those G words that also had generosity, goodness, a graciousness. That grit can also have a softness. I'm going to circle back to that because it is important how we sustain those energies of efforting and relaxing. What energy moved you to come here today? Because consistent daily practice isn't easy. It requires effort. It can be easier to get distracted with those other wild horses with more interesting, exciting projects or a phone call or whatever. You chose to be here. You made the effort to be here. For many of us, there is a shift in our motivation to practice. We often start to practice because someone said, oh, this is good for you. This is good for you to practice. And believe me, a lot of people told me it would be good for me to practice. But at some time, we start to learn and know it really is good for us. We begin to trust that there's something very important in these embodied practices. There's something precious in these heart, mind, bodies that really deserve our attention. We get a taste of some spaciousness, some relief from the contractions of our tight views. Remember Ehipassiko? You heard a lot of us use that. Come see for yourself. Is that happening here? Does that happen? Something in our practice is too important to turn away from. Something is too important not to return to. We start to experience this. The teacher, Joseph Goldstein, said, what is important is not giving up. Oh, there are times when we do need to give up. And then we just begin again. If we have a clear understanding of what our aspirations are, then we have a clearer understanding of what we need to do to move toward them and embody them. None of the aspirations will bear fruit without some effort, some grit. If our aspiration is to calm down a little bit and to have less stress in our lives, which is a really wonderful and good practice unto itself, we learn the best practices that support that. But if our aspiration is to be an effective presence in the world, it takes more effort than that, doesn't it? Here's a question, and we've asked this question before. How do we develop the willingness to turn toward all those difficult things? Well, first, we have to see it, we have to feel it, and hold it with a lot of kindness and care and patience. Find our grounding. Mindfulness, and here are words from Susan Morgan, teaches us, the heart, mind, and body, to see and step outside of the narrow views and currents of reactivity of the self. Mindfulness helps us to come into a larger, less reactive, non-self-referential, non-judgmental, caring posture, moment by moment. And from that vantage point, from this vantage point, we grow a more benevolent posture, and the self can begin to soothe and be empathized with, but not indulged. I also want to add, our bodies can be a great source of wisdom if we begin to listen to our bodies. We recognize the value of the effort in turning toward that which is difficult and the possibilities that may open to us. We learn how to grow a little more at ease with distress and maybe free ourselves from the weight of our distress. We begin to unwind from some of the mistaken stories about who we think we are and who we believe others are and what we think the world is. And then turn a deliberate intention to orient toward well-being. What we need, what do we need? What supports us? And listen for the metta in these instructions. The metta of the effort. Foster an attitude of friendliness. Identify and continue to examine unskillful patterns. Ask the question, what might be more skillful? What would help support that? Examine our motivations. What's motivating me to say this and not say that? And there's the grit of application, the commitment to be self-reflective. Identify our aspirations. What's important? How do we embody what is important? Pause. How does pausing feel in the body? The act of pausing is an effort. Let go. Let go. Letting go is a practice. We're not practiced in letting go, we're practiced in holding on. Feel for the metta in the effort. How does the heart of effort feel? The opening of the heart, the effort in holding a closed heart with tenderness and patience. The effort of holding fear, uncertainty, and confusion with generosity, with kindness. And feel for the metta in the effort to listen deeply with our hearts and bodies. the effort of your heart that keeps beating, the effort of your breath that keeps returning. Feel for the effort of your body that bears you, and feel for the kind effort of Susan's handholds. Breathe, ground, settle, and soothe. Can we wrap this effort, this grit, in the fold of metta and mindfulness for yourself, for your families, for your communities? Effort matters. Our efforts matter. Thank you for listening. Thank you.